Hello, my name is Callum. I am 26 and I have been living in this quiet suburb just outside Manchester for the past couple of years. It is one of those places where the houses are old but sturdy, with large gardens that nobody really maintains, and the streets are lined with maple trees that turn a fiery red in the autumn. I work as a freelance electrician and plumber. Nothing fancy, just fixing leaks, wiring outlets, and unclogging drains for folks around town. It pays the bills, keeps me busy, and does not require too much talking, which suits me fine. I am not the social type. Most days, I wake up, make coffee in my battered kitchen, head out to jobs, come home, perhaps watch a match or tinker with some old radio in the garage. Rinse and repeat. The house I live in is this small two-bedroom ranch-style place I inherited from my grandparents. It has creaky floors, a leaky roof I keep patching, and a backyard that is more weeds than grass. I like it though. It is mine, and it is simple. As for neighbors, I keep my distance. A wave here, a nod there. That is about it. There is the old couple next door who argue about their tomato plants, the family across the street with the barking dog, and then there is Laura. She moved in about a year ago into the blue house 2 doors down. She is older than me, perhaps early 40s, and works from home as some kind of freelance editor. I have seen her at her desk through the window sometimes, typing away with her glasses on. We have exchanged the basics when we pass each other, collecting the post, that sort of thing. It started small with her. A few months after she moved in, her waste disposal jammed, and she knocked on my door asking if I knew anyone who could fix it. I offered to take a look myself. No charge, just being neighborly. It turned out to be a quick job, and she insisted on paying me back with a plate of homemade biscuits, chocolate chip, still warm. After that, it became a pattern. She would text me every now and then for little fixes. A flickering light in the kitchen, a stuck window in the guest room. I would swing by, tool belt in hand, get it done in under an hour, and she would send me off with something from her kitchen. Muffins, a slice of pie, whatever she had baked that day. We did not talk much beyond the basics. Thanks, Callum. No problem, Laura. That was it. She seemed like the independent type, always polite but guarded. I figured she had her reasons. Me, I did not pry. Life is complicated enough without digging into other people's stories. That afternoon, though, things shifted in a way I did not see coming. I had just finished a morning job rewiring a basement for some chap in town, and I was back home kicking off my boots and cracking open a cold drink when my phone buzzed. It was Laura. Hey, Callum. Sorry to bother you on a weekend, but the light on my front porch is out. The bulb is probably dead. Mind taking a look if you are free? I texted back. Sure, I would be over in 10. I grabbed my ladder and a spare bulb from the garage. I always keep extras. And walked the short distance down the block. Her house was similar to mine, a modest one-story with a small porch and flower beds she had planted herself. I knocked and the door swung open almost immediately. There she was, Laura, in a simple white t-shirt and jeans, her dark hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She looked relaxed, as if she had been working from home all day. Hey, thanks for coming so quickly, she said with that easy smile of hers. But before I could step inside, a small voice piped up from behind her. Who is that, Aunt Laura? I glanced down and saw a little girl peeking out from the living room, perhaps 8 years old, with curly hair and a Curious George t-shirt. Laura turned and scooped her up in a half hug. This is my neighbor, Callum. He is here to fix the light. Callum, meet Ruby, my niece. She is staying with me for the weekend while her parents are out of town. Ruby waved shyly, but her eyes were bright and full of questions. I waved back. Hey, Ruby, nice to meet you. Laura stepped aside to let me in, and I headed straight for the porch light. It was a simple swap. The old bulb was burnt out just as she had thought. I climbed the ladder, unscrewed it, popped in the new one, and tested the switch. The light flickered on, good as new. All set? I called out as I folded the ladder. Laura came out with Ruby trailing behind her. You are a lifesaver, Callum. What do I owe you? I shook my head. Nah, it is nothing, just a bulb. She insisted on at least getting me a glass of lemonade, so I followed them back inside. We ended up in the kitchen, where Laura poured the drinks and Ruby climbed onto a stool, swinging her legs. She was chatty, asking me about my tools, what I fixed, if I ever climbed really tall ladders. I answered as best I could, keeping it light. But then, out of nowhere, as I took a sip, Ruby tilted her head and hit me with it. "Uncle Callum, how are babies made?" I nearly choked. The lemonade went down the wrong way, and I coughed, setting the glass down harder than I meant to. My face heated up instantly, red, I'm sure. What?" I stammered, glancing at Laura for help. She was leaning against the counter, arms crossed, biting back a smile. Her eyes sparkled with amusement. "Yeah, Ruby is full of questions today," she said casually, as if this were no big deal. "Go on, Callum. How would you explain it?" Ruby stared at me expectantly, her big eyes wide. I rubbed the back of my neck, mind racing. "What do you say to a child?" "Well, I guess babies come from when two people really like each other, and they kiss." It was the daftest thing, but it was all I could think of on the spot. Lame, I know. Ruby's mouth formed a little O. "Kissing makes babies." "Really?" She looked thrilled, like I had just revealed some big secret. Laura burst out laughing then, a real warm laugh that filled the kitchen. "Oh, Callum," she said, shaking her head. "That is one way to put it." "But yeah, Ruby, something like that. When you are older, you will understand more." She ruffled Ruby's hair, but her gaze flicked back to me, lingering just a second longer than usual. There was something in it, playful, perhaps even a little intrigued. "Thanks for the expert explanation," she teased. I chuckled awkwardly, still flushed. "Hey, I am no expert at this stuff." Ruby hopped down from the stool. "So, if I kiss my friend at school, will I have a baby?" That one made me freeze again, but Laura stepped in smoothly. "Nope, kiddo. It is more complicated than that grown-up stuff." Ruby seemed satisfied and ran off to the living room to play. Laura turned to me, her smile softening. "Sorry about that. She is at that age where everything is a mystery." I shrugged. "No worries, kids, right?" But as I grabbed my ladder to head out, she walked me to the door. "Thanks again, Callum, for the light and the entertainment." Her hand brushed my arm lightly. Accidental, probably, but it stuck with me. That moment with Ruby's question hanging in the air and Laura's laugh echoing felt like the first crack in the wall between us. Like suddenly, we were not just neighbors anymore. After that afternoon with Ruby's question hanging in the air like some kind of unexpected punchline, things between Laura and me started to change. Not in a big dramatic way. No fireworks or sudden confessions, but slowly, like how the leaves shift colors in the autumn without you noticing until one day the whole tree is orange. I did not think much of it at first. I mean, we were just neighbors. But the next week, my phone buzzed again. It was her. "Callum, I hate to ask, but my kitchen outlet is acting up. Sparks when I plug in the toaster. Any chance you could swing by?" I texted back that I would be over after my next job. When I got there, Ruby was gone. "Back with her parents," Laura explained as she led me to the kitchen. She had coffee brewing, the smell filling the house, and she poured me a mug without asking. "Black, right? I remember from last time." I nodded, surprised she had noticed. The fix was straightforward. A loose wire, nothing major. As I worked, she leaned against the counter, chatting about her day, editing a manuscript for some romance novel that was full of cliches, but somehow still charming. I laughed, wiping my hands on a rag. Sounds like my life, full of fixes that are not as complicated as they seem. She smiled at that, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "You are good at what you do, Callum." Steady hands. That became the new normal. A few days later, I was out in my garden raking leaves when she walked over with a container of soup, made too much chicken noodle, figured you might want some. "It is getting chilly." I took it, and before I knew it, we were talking about the weather turning. How the winters here drag on forever. She mentioned she had grown up in a small town further north where snow piled up to the windows. Hated it as a child, but now I miss the quiet. I shared a bit about my grandparents' house, how it felt like a time capsule sometimes. Nothing deep, just easy conversation, but it felt nice, different from my usual solitude. The invitations started small. One evening, after I helped her hang some shelves in her living room, her drill bit had stripped and she did not have the right tools. She insisted I stay for dinner. It is just pasta and salad, nothing fancy. I hesitated, but her kitchen smelled like garlic and basil, and I had not cooked in days. We ate at her small table, the kind with mismatched chairs. She asked about my work. Ever think about starting your own business? You seem like you could. I shrugged. Maybe someday. Right now it is steady enough. What about you? Editing sounds creative. She leaned back, twirling her fork. It is, but it is lonely sometimes. Staring at words all day, fixing other people's stories while mine is a mess. That is when she opened up a little, not all at once, but in pieces. She told me about her marriage, how it started young, full of promise, but crumbled under the weight of little things. Arguments over money, growing apart, and then the betrayal that sealed it. He had someone else, younger of course. Cliché, right? She said it with a wry smile, but I could see the hurt lingering in her eyes. I moved here to start over, fresh slate. I listened, nodding. It felt right to share back. I get it. I had a thing in college, thought it was real, but she left for someone with bigger plans. Made me question if I'm cut out for that stuff. Laura reached across the table, her hand brushing mine for a second. You are. It just takes the right person. Weekends turned into our thing. She would text, baking an apple pie, want to be my taste tester? I would show up, and we would end up in her kitchen, flour dusting the counters, laughing when the crust burned a little. One Saturday, Ruby was back, her parents on a weekend trip again. She bounded in while we were rolling dough, her eyes lighting up. Uncle Callum, Aunt Laura is teaching me to bake. I grinned. Looks like you are a pro already. We spent the afternoon like that, Ruby chattering away, asking if I knew how to make biscuits with sprinkles. Laura watched us with this soft expression, like she was seeing something new. As the days got shorter, our talks stretched longer. After pie or whatever she had made, we would migrate to the living room, put on an old film, classics like Casablanca or something lighter. She would curl up on one end of the sofa, me on the other, a blanket thrown over us as the room grew dark. We would pause the film to talk about books she had edited, places I had fixed up around town, dreams we had let slip away. I always wanted to travel, she said one night, staring at the screen. Europe, perhaps see the old cities. I nodded. Me too. Never got around to it. There was a pause and she looked at me. What is stopping us now? It was a simple question, but it hung there heavy with possibility. Ruby kept popping up, her innocence cutting through any awkwardness. One evening, as we decorated a small Christmas tree Laura had set up in her living room, lights tangled, ornaments mismatched, she tugged at my sleeve. Uncle Callum, if you kiss Aunt Laura, will you have a baby? I froze mid-string of lights, my face heating up again. Laura, hanging a star, burst out laughing. Ruby, honey, where do you get these ideas? But Ruby was serious. You said babies come from kissing. I glanced at Laura, remembering that first day. She met my eyes, her laugh fading into a smile that was warmer, more intimate. Well, kiddo, she said, kissing is just the start, but only for grown-ups who really care about each other. Ruby nodded sagely and skipped off to grab more tinsel. That night, after Ruby's parents picked her up, Laura walked me to the door. The porch light, the one I had fixed, cast a soft glow. She is something else, I said. Laura nodded, her arms crossed against the chill. Yeah, she makes you think about things, does she not? There was a beat of silence, our breaths visible in the cold air. I wanted to say more, but I just nodded. Night, Laura. Night, Callum. As I walked back to my house, the distance between our doors felt shorter somehow. Like those little moments, fixes, baked goods, questions were building into something real. Something I had not expected, but did not want to stop. Spring rolled in like it always does around here. Warmer days, birds chirping at dawn, and that fresh smell of rain-soaked earth after a storm. My work picked up too. Folks were shaking off the winter blues, calling me for all sorts of jobs, installing ceiling fans, fixing sump pumps in flooded basements, even wiring up some outdoor lights for backyard barbecues. I was booked solid most weeks, hauling my van from one suburb to the next, coming home dog-tired, but with a decent pay packet. It felt good, keeping busy, keeping my mind off things I did not need to dwell on. But even with the schedule, Laura and I did not drift apart. If anything, those quick texts, "How is your day going?" or "Made extra lasagna, stop by if you are free," kept us connected. One evening, I was wrapping up a late job in town when my phone rang. It was her. "Callum, sorry to call so late." Her voice sounded off, shaky, not her usual steady self. "What is wrong?" I asked, already climbing into my van. She took a breath. "It is my mum. She fell at home, broke her hip. She is in the hospital back in Edinburgh. I need to go see her, but I do not know. It is a long drive and I hate motorways at night." I did not hesitate. "I will take you. When do you want to leave?" There was a pause, like she had not expected that. "You sure? It is not your problem." "It is not a problem at all," I said. "Pack a bag. I will pick you up in an hour." We hit the road, the sky already dark, stars popping out overhead. Laura sat in the passenger seat, fiddling with the radio until she landed on some soft folk station. She did not say much at first, just stared out the window at the passing fields. I let the silence be. About an hour in, she started talking. "Mum has always been tough. Raised me alone after Dad left, but she is getting older, you know, and I am here hours away." I nodded. Sounds like my grandparents. They were the same, stubborn, independent, but everyone needs help sometimes. She glanced at me. "Yeah, thanks for this, Callum. Really?" We stopped for petrol halfway, grabbed coffee from a dingy station. By the time we pulled into the hospital car park, she looked exhausted but grateful. The next few days blurred together. Her mum, Mrs. Harland, a spitfire of a woman even from her hospital bed, was in good spirits, cracking jokes about the bland food and flirting with the nurses. Laura and I took shifts. I would run out for meals, fix the squeaky door in her room, or just sit with her while Laura caught a nap in the waiting area. One night, after Mrs. Harland dozed off, Laura and I stepped out into the hallway. She leaned against the wall, eyes red from lack of sleep. "I do not know what I would do without you here," she whispered. I shrugged it off. "You would manage. You always do." But she shook her head, tears welling up. "No, Callum, I mean it. You just show up." That is when she broke a little, shoulders shaking. I pulled her into a hug without thinking. First time I had held her like that. She buried her face in my shoulder, and I just stood there rubbing her back, feeling her warmth against me. "It is okay," I murmured. "We will get through it." Mrs. Harland stayed in for observation a couple more days, and we filled the time with small things, bringing her magazines, helping her with the television remote, even playing cards in her room. Laura opened up more during those quiet moments. My ex, he never would have done this, always too busy with his own stuff. I listened as she talked about the marriage, how it started passionate but turned cold, the lies, the nights she felt invisible. I thought that was just how it was until now. I shared more too about losing my grandparents, how it left me floating, scared of getting close to anyone. But being here, it feels different. She squeezed my hand. It does. By the time Mrs. Harland was discharged, crutches and all, we said our goodbyes, promising to visit soon. Laura hugged her mum tight, and Mrs. Harland winked at me. "Take care of my girl, young man." I chuckled. "I will try." The drive back started smooth, but halfway home, the sky darkened fast. Thunder rumbled and rain hit the windscreen like bullets. I slowed down, wipers on full blast, but then the engine sputtered. Lights flickered on the dash. "No, no," I muttered, pulling over to the hard shoulder. We were in the middle of nowhere. Rolling fields on both sides, no towns for miles. I popped the bonnet, but in the downpour I could not see much. Alternator, perhaps. We are stuck till it lets up. Back in the van, we were soaked, shivering. Laura wrapped her arms around herself. Of all the times. I grabbed a blanket from the back seat. I always keep one for emergencies, and draped it over us. We sat there, rain hammering the roof, the cab fogging up. "Could be worse," I said. She laughed weakly. "Yeah, how? I could be alone." She looked at me then, her face close in the dim light. "Callum, have you ever thought if we had met earlier, things might be different?" Her voice was soft, vulnerable, tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. I reached over, gently wiping them away with my thumb. "Maybe, but I'm glad we met now." She leaned in and I kissed her forehead, slow, tender, like I had wanted to for months. She closed her eyes, resting against me. We did not say more, just held on as the storm raged outside. Back in Manchester, life snapped back to its rhythm. but nothing felt quite the same. The drive home from Edinburgh had changed things. That kiss on her forehead in the rain, the way we had leaned on each other through those long hospital nights. It was not something we talked about right away, we just were. I would drop by her place after work, help with dinner, or we would sit on her porch watching the neighborhood wind down. Ruby came over a couple more times, her questions still flying, but now they felt like little nudges, pushing us closer without us realizing. At first, I did not notice the whispers. The suburbs are quiet like that. People talk behind closed doors. But one afternoon, I was at the hardware shop picking up some wire, and the cashier, an older chap I had seen around, gave me this knowing grin. "Heard you are keeping busy with the neighbor lady." "Good for you, lad." I blinked. "What?" He chuckled. "You know, the one down the block. Folks say you are over there a lot." I brushed it off as small-town gossip, but it stuck with me. Later that week, the old couple next door waved me over while I was mowing. "She is a nice woman, that Laura," the wife said, her voice low. "But watch yourself. People talk." Her husband nodded. "Age difference like that, tongues wag." I did not tell Laura at first. I did not want to worry her, but the rumors spread like weeds. That young plumber and the divorced editor, she is too old for him. He is just after a free meal. I overheard it at the cafe one morning. Two chaps at the counter laughing about the cougar down on Elm Street. It made my blood boil, but I kept my cool. This was our thing, quiet and real. Why let outsiders ruin it? Laura started pulling back though. Her texts came less often, and when I stopped by, she seemed distracted, her smiles forced. One evening, I showed up unannounced with takeaway from the Chinese place she liked, kung pao chicken and spring rolls. She opened the door, but her face was pale, eyes tired like she had not slept. "Callum." "Hey." She stepped aside to let me in, but the warmth was missing. We ate in the kitchen, mostly in silence. I tried cracking a joke about a job I had botched that day, shocking myself on a live wire, but she just nodded, picking at her food. "What is going on?" I finally asked, setting down my fork. She sighed, pushing her plate away. "Nothing, just work stuff." I did not buy it. "Laura, come on, talk to me." She looked up, her eyes meeting mine for the first time that night. There was pain there, raw and unguarded. "Callum, what if I left? Moved somewhere else, started over again." The words hit like a gut punch. I froze. "Left? Why?" She stood up, pacing to the window, arms wrapped around herself. "People are talking about us, the age thing, my past, all of it. I hear it at the supermarket. See the looks? I do not want to drag you into that mess." I got up, heart pounding. "You think I care about that? Let them talk." She turned, tears glistening. "But I do. You are young, Callum. You have time. I do not want you stuck with someone like me, divorced, older, with baggage." Her voice cracked. "What if they are right? What if this is just temporary?" I stepped closer, gently taking her hands. They were cold. "Laura, stop. This is not temporary for me. Being with you, it is the first time in years I feel like I am not just going through the motions. You make me want more, laugh more, talk more, be more." She shook her head, pulling back slightly. "But the rumors, they hurt, and they will hurt you too." I pulled her into a hug, held her tight, like I could shield her from all of it. She resisted for a second, then melted against me, her sobs quiet but deep. "I do not care what they think," I whispered into her hair. "If you want to go, fine, but let me go with you. We will find a new place, start fresh together. Just do not leave without me." She lifted her head, eyes searching mine. "You would do that for me?" I nodded. "For us?" That is when she broke completely, tears streaming. "I never thought anyone would stay, not after everything." I wiped her cheeks, my thumb lingering. "I am staying because you are worth it. All of it." She leaned in, and this time our lips met. Not on the forehead, but real. Soft at first, then deeper. It was like everything we had held back poured out in that kiss. The fixes, the baked goods, the late nights, Ruby's questions. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. "I love you, Callum." God, I did not plan this. I smiled, heart racing. I love you too. And we will figure it out. We sat on the sofa after, her head on my shoulder, talking through the night. The road ahead would not be easy, the age gap, her past, the town's eyes on us. But in that moment, none of it mattered. We had chosen each other, and that was enough to face whatever came next. Time passed in that steady way it does when you are not watching the clock. Months blurred into seasons, and the rumors that had stung so sharply at first faded into background noise. People still whispered. Small towns do not forget easily, but we learned to tune it out. Laura and I chose to stay, not out of spite, but because running felt like giving up on something real. We turned her house, our house now in a way, into a project. Weekends became about sanding down the old porch railing, painting the kitchen a soft blue she picked out, fixing that drip in the bathroom sink I had been meaning to get to. I would come home from a job, tools still in hand, and find her in the garden, knees dirty from planting tulips or herbs. "Help me with this," she would ask, and I would drop everything. We built routines, the kind that sneak up on you and make life feel full. Mornings, coffee on the porch, her reading manuscripts while I sketched out my next job. Evenings cooking together, her chopping vegetables, me stirring the pot, music playing low from the radio. Ruby visited more often, her parents trusting us with weekends here and there. She would barrel through the door, backpack slung over one shoulder, full of stories from school. Uncle Callum, Aunt Laura, guess what I learned today? We would laugh, pull her into the kitchen for snacks. She was growing fast, that curiosity of hers sharpening. One afternoon, as we helped her with homework at the table, maths problems scattered like puzzle pieces, she looked up suddenly. "If you and Aunt Laura kiss, does that mean you will have a baby soon?" I paused, pencil midair, and glanced at Laura. She was smiling, that warm knowing one that always settled me. Ruby waited, eyes wide, like this was the most important question in the world. I set the pencil down. "Well, kiddo, remember what I said before? Kissing is part of it, but it is more than that." Laura leaned in, her hand on Ruby's shoulder. "Babies come when two people love each other a lot and decide they are ready to build a family. It is about taking care of each other every day." Ruby nodded slowly, processing. "Like you two do? You cook and fix stuff and hug?" We both chuckled. "Yeah," I said. "Something like that." Ruby beamed. "Cool. Can I be the big sister if it happens?" Laura ruffled her hair. "We will see, sweetie. But for now, let us finish this homework." Those moments with Ruby grounded us. She did not see the age difference or the town's side eyes. To her, we were just us. And honestly, that is how it felt most days. We would take walks around the block, her arm linked in mine, ignoring the occasional stare from a passing car. Or we would drive out to the countryside on Sundays, picnic by the river, talking about nothing and everything. "Ever think we would end up here?" she would ask, head on my lap as we watched clouds drift. I would trace her hand. "Nope, but I am glad we did." She opened up more about her scars, the marriage that left her doubting herself, the fear of being alone forever. I shared mine, the loneliness after my grandparents passed, how I had built walls to keep from getting hurt. Together, we chipped away at them. Not everything was easy. There were nights when the doubts crept in. Laura would wake up worried. "What if this blows up? What if you regret it?" I would pull her close. "I will not. We are in this." And the town, it simmered down eventually. Some folks warmed up. The old couple next door even invited us for coffee once, saying, "You two seem happy. That is what counts." Others kept their distance, but we did not care. We had our world. The house with its fresh paint, the garden blooming, Ruby's laughter echoing on weekends. One golden afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the yard, we sat on the porch with Ruby. She was drawing pictures of families, stick figures with big smiles. "This is us," she said, holding it up. Laura and I exchanged a look, her head resting on my shoulder. "Looks perfect," I said. Ruby grinned. "When I grow up, I want love like yours." Laura whispered to me later as Ruby ran off to play. "I never believed I would start over, but every day with you, I choose this." I kissed her temple. "Me too. We do not know what tomorrow holds. The whispers might flare up again. Life might throw curves. But in that little house on the quiet street, two ordinary people found something extraordinary. It started with a child's innocent question, bloomed through shared hurts and quiet nights, and grew into this: us choosing each other no matter what. And in the end, that is all love really is. Brave hearts answering life's questions one day at a time. Sometimes the quietest streets teach the loudest lessons. Callum and Laura's tale reminds us that love rarely arrives with fanfare. It tiptoes in through everyday kindness, changing a light bulb, sharing soup, lending an ear on a rain-soaked motorway. Their courage lay not in grand gestures, but in choosing each other, again and again, when rumors swirled and doubt pressed in. They show that the world's chatter matters far less than the steady voice inside that says, "This feels right." Age gaps, past hurts, even the watchful eyes of a nosy suburb cannot eclipse a bond built on patience, laughter, and those small, sacred moments that stitch two ordinary lives together. It is a gentle reminder for all of us: value actions over appearances, resilience over perfection, and the brave hearts who stay when storms roll in. If you ever question whether simple goodness can change a life, remember the electrician who fixed more than a fuse, he rewired a future. What about you? Have you experienced a love or friendship forged in life's quiet corners? Pop your stories in the comments below. I read every one, and they inspire the next tale. If you enjoy these reflective journeys through everyday magic, do hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. There's plenty more warmth and wisdom on the way. Cheers!